Hi, I'm Antoinette Crosby here in the big chair during one of my favorite seasons of the year. It's fall festival time here at Cox Farms in Centerville, Virginia. This family-owned business has been providing mega fun since 1972, with entertainment ranging from Fields of Fear to Foamhenge. Okay, we'll get the scoop later, but first, welcome to Artico, art in your community. Joining me now is Sam Farrell, who is the manager here at Cox Farms. So Sam, tell us something about the Fall Festival. It seems very exciting.
Yeah, it is, thank you. We've been doing this since 1972, and we've got hay rides for the kids, a bunch of giant slides, a whole bunch of animals. It's a really fun place.
Okay, and so tell us about the hours that you can come out and enjoy.
Yeah, we're open every day from 10 to 6, as long as it's not raining, and we'll be open until November 5th.
What about for Halloween, which is coming up very soon?
Well, we run Fields of Fear every Friday and Saturday night. It's a haunted attraction. It's pretty scary. And we also do Pumpkin Madness. So the weekend after Halloween, the kids can come back in with their old pumpkins, and we'll smash them in a whole variety of different ways.
Hey, Sam, well, I'm going to get out of here and go play. There's so much to do around here, so thank you so much for sitting and chatting with us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming.
Del Jackson studied as an architect, a painter, and a sculptor, all displayed in his intriguing work.
I was taking some electives while I was at Hampton. I went into the sculpture studio and met Professor Joseph Gilliard, and we looked at some sculptures that were done by previous students, and I was pretty much blown away. And so I asked Mr. Gilliard, I said, how can I get one of those? And he said, make your own. And so I said, wow, okay. And that's what I started to do. I took a large piece of clay, about 50 pounds of clay, and for the next 3 to 4 months just kept manipulating it, changing the shapes, and seeing many different images in the clay as I worked it and changed the forms. And after that, it's pretty much history. I really developed, I think, my style of primitive, natural forms, and that's how I really got into the sculpture. 360 Mon series is the main series that I have. I have done series with my paintings and drawings, but as far as sculpture, most of the others are just one-of-a-kind, unique works. You'll see that in some of the faces I incorporate animal features because, you know, we're all part of nature. Some people have personalities that might remind you of some animals. What I've started to do now is incorporate bodies on it. And when I do that, it really adds a new dimension to the pieces. But with some of the sculptures is trying to combine them with plants. And so I've done a few heads that I put plants into. And, you know, some of the sculptures I make for specific plants. I've made probably about 50 individual pieces. They're all handmade out of clay. They're all one of a kind. And they all have personalities. You know, usually most of them have about 3 to 4 faces on them. And as you turn and look at the faces, you kind of get a sense of the personality of that piece. And 360 Man, because they're looking in all directions. With just creating work and everything like that, I'm drawing on the experiences from the past and the cultural sensations I get from the African and the Black experience. So you'll see a lot of the sculptures, you know, they'll have large noses, large lips. They'll look at you, as you know, most Black people do. They look at you, and so do the sculptures. When I started painting, it wasn't that I was trying to create images. I was actually trying to design compositions of color. I guess over the past 30 to 40 years, I did over 100, 150 paintings. I saved them, and then once I completed my career with the Corps of Engineers, I had a solo show at Harmony Hall Regional Center where I had about 35 paintings and about 25 sculptures. I create both with the same process. With the sculptures, what I'm looking for is balance, stability, and composition, and a rhythm to the movement and the shapes. And I'm pretty much doing that when I do paintings also. This sculpture right here, this is Head, okay? And he's an introvert. And so with Head, I first made the shape, and then I made a mold of it so that I could do multiple copies of it. Probably about 35 to 40 hours on this piece. I get pretty strong reactions from the sculpture. I get a lot of positive reactions. People find it relatively unique, and sometimes, you know, people are kind of scared of some of the sculptures, you know. I feel very good about the sculpture and the reactions, and I'm kind of inspired to go to another level with it. Right now, what I want to do is get back in the studio and create some new work, and then probably in about 2 to 3 years from now, go ahead and have another solo exhibition. Art is a wonderful thing to help us cope with life, to help us express ourselves, to help us escape from some of the things that, you know, might trouble us, and to inspire us also.
Sometimes we like to add a little culture to our art, just like putting in some cream and sugar into a good cup of coffee or tea. Now it's time to spill the tea. It's a huge part of Japanese culture. Over the centuries, the love of tea has given rise to a spiritual and aesthetic ceremony. It's called CHADO, the way of tea.
So we understand that the custom of drinking tea started in the Zen monasteries in the 13th century, and the Zen monks started drinking the tea in this practice based on the protocol of tea as part of their monastic rules. In the 15th and 16th centuries, it became more of a spiritual practice. The great grandmaster of the Urasenke school of tea has been spreading his idea of peacefulness through a bowl of tea around the world for over 70 years to help spread cross-cultural understanding. Cha-no-yu is the simple act of boiling water, making tea, and drinking it. Cha-no-yu is about the communion between the host and the guest. It is founded in 4 principles that we call wa, kei, sei, jaku, which mean harmony, respect, purity, and tranquility. Through the tea practice, we learn to apply these 4 principles both in the ceremony and throughout our daily lives. And when I started doing tea as a 16-year-old American, I found it a little odd to wrap my head around how meticulous everything was. The host carefully plans every aspect of what goes into these private tea functions to create a very unique and once-in-a-lifetime experience for the guests. Traditionally, the kimono is what people wear in the tea room when they're doing Japanese tea ceremony. But if a kimono is unavailable, then business attire is also acceptable. There are a lot of different types of tea gatherings, and the one that I'll talk about today is probably one of the ones that people think about most frequently, which is what we call a private tea function, or a chaji. And in a private tea function, there's actually 2 different parts and an intermission. In the first part, the host starts with a charcoal procedure to lay the charcoal and start the fire to boil the water. And then they serve a meal with special tea sweets, and then there's an intermission. After the intermission, there are 2 sessions with a bowl of thick tea, and all of the guests share the same bowl of thick tea, and then there's another session with a bowl of thin tea. The type of tea that we use in tea ceremony is called matcha tea, and it is stone ground to a very fine powder, and it's different from what we Westerners think of as tea. But the matcha, you actually mix with the hot water, and you take a bamboo whisk and you whip it until it's frothy, And so when you drink the tea, you're actually drinking the powder of the tea leaves as well. The tea procedure itself has a very prescribed order in which you do things and how you carry your body and handle the utensils, both for the host and the guest. The guest drinks the tea and takes a moment to look closely at the bowl and appreciate it and the thought that the host put into planning everything. And when the guests are done drinking, the host cleans all of the utensils again. And in closing, the guest will ask the host about the utensils and they'll share their parting greetings. And I think that Japanese tea ceremony is the epitome of Japanese art. And I think so because it incorporates so many aspects of other Japanese arts and performing arts. So for example, it includes flower arranging, which is different in practice than ikebana, but there is flower arranging. It includes lacquer work, pottery work, textiles. It includes the preparation of a beautiful meal. It includes painting, calligraphy, architecture, and so on.
So this is one of the tractors that take folks on hay rides here at Cox Farms. I'm in the driver's seat all ready to go, but as you can see, well, nobody wants to ride with me. Now in our next story, DC native Lafayette Gilchrist fell in love with music and the piano when he was 17 years old. Fueled by his passion, he's built a career that has taken him around the world. His compositions have been used in the soundtracks of a number of HBO shows. Fan faves like The Wire, Tremaine and the Deuce. His new album, Dark Matter, was recorded live in Baltimore, where he currently lives. It's a place that has often inspired his work. We visited him during a special Charm City performance.
I used to go to the library and just check out records and go to the list. They had listening booths at the time, and you could just go and listen. And they had these jazz piano collections, and so there's a myriad of different people. That was probably like my earliest fascination with the instrument. Some of the early boogie woogie piano players, the early Harlem Stride piano players, and some of the early ragtime piano players. Not just great pianists, but they made me know that they were great personalities, distinctive sounds. So I got very early that the instrument could sound different under one person's touch. Various influences that inform what I do come from the world of popular music. Come from the world of DC go-go. Come from the world of hip hop, and they come from the world of jazz. It comes from the world a century before our world. Well, I never tried to describe my sound. I just tried to be as present in its formation as possible. The most important musician I'm probably affiliated with is who I'll be appearing with tonight, Mr. David Murray. David Murray is really responsible for my international exposure and much of my national exposure as well. Literally plucked me from obscurity. Through David Murray, I had an opportunity to work with Cassandra Wilson, the late Harriet Blewett, great Craig Harris. If people want to find out where I'll be appearing, you can always go to LafayetteGilchristmusic.com. I'm also on Facebook and I'm also on Instagram. Well, the city of Baltimore influences what I do musically in the way of what I do is very much informed by the people on the ground who know, who understand, where the city has been, where the city is at, and what we have facing us. Blues for Freddie Gray was written during the uprisings here in Baltimore. It was written in real time. It was written from a place of like, well, what can I do? I just took that energy and I tried to write something and contribute something that was true. I've always firmly believed, artists have to take a stand. You don't get this. You don't get to get the love of the people, and you're not going to stand.
I'm still on the tractor waiting for passengers, but in the meantime, creating a stronger community is what Artworks Now is all about.
Artworks Now is a 501c3 nonprofit arts education organization. We were founded in 2011, and our original home was above the post office in Mount Rainier, and in 2017 we moved to this location. Since I was about 12 years old, I knew I wanted to be an artist. I taught at the college level for several years, and then I started working just in my studio full-time. There was a kind of divine intervention, and my alma mater, the high school that I attended, sent out a note that the art teacher was going on maternity leave, and that started a 5-year teaching experience. There was a period when I was working with this social justice teacher. The two of us together, I felt like it made something special that really clicked with the kids. And so that was sort of the spark that led me to found Artworks as a place where art and social justice could come together.
Throughout the year, we work with people of all ages, so school-age children, teenagers, and adults as well. Any barrier that presents itself to a family or an individual being able to participate, we try and find a way to break down that barrier and provide that access. Sometimes that looks like scholarships for summer camps. Sometimes that looks like payment plans.
When I founded Artworks, it meant that I was leaving my job teaching at the high school, and there were several students who we weren't finished working together. And one of those students is Asada Terrell, and she now has a master's degree and has returned and is now working here at Artworks.
It's really amazing. I mean, I'm like a prime example of like our mission, because I started here as a camper and I'm still working with the organization, and like being able to use my like schooling and like be creative here in the development field is really great.
Our vision is that all people are born with an innate creativity, and it is often educated out of us. We go through a period in our development as children where, we're 6 years old and we're drawing pictures of our moms and dads, and we're like, I'm an artist. And so many kids say that, but you get to be about 8 years old, 9 years old, and unless you're one of those kids that has a natural ability, you tend to go, I can't draw. Our curriculum is designed in a way that we aren't making you rely on your ability to draw a face or a cup or whatever. It's really about expressing yourself.
All the things that I wanted to achieve and do when I was a kid, and growing up I didn't have much opportunities to do that. So for me now to teach a curriculum that's based off of what I like to do and what the kids might like, it's great to see them actually engaged.
We tend to do our programs seasonally. So we have a fall programming, we have a winter programming, we have spring, and then our summers are pretty full with summer camp.
Access to art education is absolutely correlated with income and with economic status. And so our friends in wealthier counties and wealthier neighborhoods, their schools have a tremendous amount of arts learning opportunities. Our kids, our adults, don't have the same access.
I love the slogan, create the world you imagine. And I truly feel that when I'm here, I'm able to do so because I myself am a creator and I want to help create and build up my community.
Looking for some stuff to do? We've got a few ideas. DC native Dave Chappelle will add another honor to his Emmys and Grammys. He's this year's recipient of the Mark Twain Prize for Humor. You can be part of his special night along with a great lineup of performers. It'll be at the Kennedy Center on October 27th. And if you love Halloween, the National Symphony Orchestra presents its annual Spooktacular. Of course, there will be great music, but if you come early, there will also be trick-or-treating and a haunted hall. That's Sunday, October 20th. And before we move on, we want to acknowledge the passing of an American treasure, Jesse Norman. The Howard University alum and 5-time Grammy Award winner dazzled the world with her amazing soprano voice. Jesse Norman was 74 years old. And from one treasure to another. For more than 30 years, the Washington Bach Consort has been presenting the music of its namesake, Johann Sebastian Bach.
Our founder and previous artistic director and conductor, Dr. J. Riley Lewis. So literally, he and his friends met in his mom's basement and started performing Bach. All professional musicians even back then, but performing Baroque music. And it grew into what some people refer to as the nation's premier Baroque orchestra. It's all professional singers, and it's historically informed performance practice, HIP, as we say. And that means, among other things, that the instruments that the musicians use are very old, and the sound is similar, we think, some would think, to what Bach heard or what people might have heard in the Baroque period. We perform the music of Bach and his contemporaries at the very highest professional, best level we can. We do outreach in the community, like the performances, the free performances that are happening the first Monday and Tuesday of every month. And then we educate the importance about educate the public about the importance of classical music and Bach specifically in DC. And the Bach Consort is toured and been very well received in Germany, that we've won awards, where we have a great reputation. We have a phenomenal new artistic director, Dr. Dana Marsh, who is incredible. But I think one of the things that comes to mind is our commitment to education to DC public school students. We'll be in front of 3,000 DC public school students this year alone. Our commitment to DC, and specifically DC public schools, is really important to us. This is a huge part of our commitment, that the same musicians that people pay $69 to see on a Sunday stick around on Monday and Tuesday, and we perform now Capitol Hill on Mondays at noon, and here at Epiphany in downtown Washington, D.C. On Tuesdays. And we average about 365 people, believe it or not. It's going to be packed in there. The Bach Consort, I'm told, is the only cover band, we play the music of Bach, to perform at Fort Reno, the Fort Reno Music Festival, and it's lots of punk bands and kind of harder, louder bands, but also the Bach Consort has performed there for free. I think that we're part of the fabric of DC's music, so we do outreach in that way. The Petworth Jazz Project, we're the only kind of classical group that's performed at the Petworth Jazz Project. We've done both of those things a couple times. We've performed at Bloom Bars with a hip hop group. The Bach Consort is kind of like a family. I really care about these musicians. You know, no one is affiliated with the Bach Consort to make money. It's because they're passionate about the music that they make.
We're playing this great repertoire together. It's just very rich experience, and also a great pleasure.
I love the famous things that we play in the subscription concerts, but it's also wonderful to play these cantatas that we play once a month.
Performing with original instrumentation and the instruments that Bach would have used back in his time is so incredibly thrilling.
This music community is very special. DC has a music world and a music history that's really essential. Memphis and New Orleans and New York and Chicago they're very important, of course, but DC is too. And the Bach Consort has an important place in that long music history, and and I'm honored to be a part of it.
Welcome, Bach. Okay, I couldn't resist. Thank you for joining us on today's show, and thank you to all my friends here at Cox Farms for letting us hang out here. I know they look a little scary, but they're actually very nice, and it's a great place to visit. Well, I'm Anquinette Crosby, and until next time, always remember to follow your art.
This program is produced by WHUT, Howard University Television, and made possible by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.